works this time. Yes. Perfect. So, sorry for that little trouble, and welcome everybody. It's great to be back in Japan after, a year. And it's always a pleasure to be here and to have so many people here to come to the summit. So, I heard actually that there's quite a few new people also around this year who have not been using Qt for a long time. So I thought it's best, if I will, in the keynote now, start a little bit, give you a good introduction and overview over what Qt is all about. You just heard, that Qt actually got 20 years last week, actually. We had some celebrations in our offices as well around that. And, it's been around for quite a long time. So, but I'll talk a little bit about what it all is. But, first of all, I think Tasuku-san introduced me a little bit already, but my name is Lars Knoll. I'm the CTO of the Qt company and the chief maintainer of Qt. Been working with Qt actually for a long time now. I think we first got to hear about it, with the KDE project in 1997, and that's when I started using it. And I've been working, professionally in my professional life with Qt since 2000. So since then, I've been developing Qt and working with it. So, to start off with, what is actually Qt? What is it that we're aiming for? In a nutshell, you can say it's everything you need to develop your application and device. And as I said, the first version that we had was released in 1995, and it came actually from two Norwegian people, Eirik and Håvard Moore, who at that time, looked into developing applications, and they wanted to have them on Unix and on Windows. And they couldn't find any good tools to do that, anything that really helped them do it. So, they sat down and thought, we need to find something that really, makes, developing, graphical applications for users enjoyable and makes that fun. And that has been something that has been driving us throughout all the 20 years. What we want to do is really make application development easy and fun. And I think, Qt is succeeding with that in a pretty good way. So to do that, we have, developed a comprehensive set of C++ frameworks that you can use to create your application. We have the Qt Quick user interface technology to help you create the user interfaces, also modern touch-based user interfaces. We have all the integrated tooling, and we have all of that cross-platform. In the current market, requirements change quickly. And for any product that you develop these days, time to market is critical. You have to be fast to get it out there. You want to be able to develop it in a good pace and get it out there. So the requirements of your applications are changing very quickly. You need to adapt to that. And you have a market that is also nowadays more fragmented between different operating systems than it ever had been before. You have the different mobile operating systems, iOS, Android, Windows, phone. You have the desktop operating systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, and you might even have to deal with embedded operating systems. With Qt, you have the advantage that you can target them all, and this helps you speed up your development process. And you also have the advantage that you can use the same APIs and frameworks across this, and this really gives you, with the tooling and the professional tooling that we have, something that allows you to really get out and keep, doing your applications in a quick and fast-paced way. As I said, nowadays it's really important that you target multiple screens. So with screens, we mean different operating systems. You have the desktop, you have your mobile phones, you have tablets, and you might have embedded devices. And it is important, if you want to differentiate your application, that you can, go and bring your application, your software, to all of these different targets, so you can reach out to as large as possible user base. And this is, where Qt really helps you. You can reach out to these different devices using our cross-platform technology. You can make them look native on all of these devices, but you can also make them look like your own one, unique and branded to your use case. So whatever you need to do there with Qt, you can target all these major operating systems with one code base, with one developing at one time, and reusing it across all of these different things. Before I go a little bit more into what we have, all the different features of Qt, I thought maybe we'll go and have a look about different use cases. Where is Qt being used today? And I'll just pick a few selected things to just show you, the range of different types of applications and devices where Qt is being used. Let me start off. So let me start off with the first one. This is what you see here. Is a screenshot of Autodesk Maya. Maya is a very large application. It's a desktop application. It has been existing for quite a few years. It really is a specialized tool, to create 3D content, 3D models, animations, and it's used a lot. For example, by the movie industry to create animated pictures, by the gaming industry and other places to create the 3D models. And it's interesting because it's Qt-based, it's a very large application, a large desktop application, and shows what can be done. It's millions and millions of lines of code that have been written there. But it's not only a desktop application, so it's also actually some use case that we've seen more and more these days. What Maya does is it exposes a set of plugin APIs to their users. And you can write plugins using Qt, using our technology, and using some of the APIs that also Autodesk is exposing. So in the end, what you get here is you get also a use case where third-party developers can then go and use Qt to extend Maya as a product. So they're also in a way offering that as an SDK. And I'll come back to that later on in my talk. Another use case now, this is embedded, and it's actually a pretty cool one. It's Tesla and their fully electric car. Both the dashboard and the entertainment system, actually the whole user interface is done in that car, done using Qt. If you look at the car, actually it has almost no buttons anymore. If you sit in there, it probably has, the standard controls next to your steering wheel, but that's about it. Everything else, you actually operate through the big touch screen. And they've done a fantastic job there in creating an application and the user interface that's touch-based, it's animated, it's fluent, using our technology. And it shows one of the big, embedded use cases. It actually shows also one of the cases where currently there's a lot of interest for Qt. We're talking now currently to a lot of automotive manufacturers, both in all parts of the world, in the US, in Europe, and also here in Asia and in Japan, about using Qt, for the entertainment system, for the dashboard in their cars. A very different use case is actually air traffic control systems. That's one thing we learned about where Qt is being used in a large, let's say, distributed system. If you fly in over Europe, quite a lot of the European air traffic control systems for different countries are based on Qt. They, and there, the use case is very different. Also, this is a large distributed set of applications. They have to have one, central database, but then you have lots of operators using, Qt for different parts of the air traffic control. There's the ground control on the airport, then there's the thing on flight, and they need to interact also with lots of other systems, hand over the the airplane to a different, country and these kind of things. It's a large distributed system and it's mission critical as well. There's very little room for failure. It has to be rock solid and stable. So, whenever you fly over to Europe, you might end up, being guided, or your plane might end up being guided through the airspace there using a Qt-based application. And then one final thing, also airplane related, the in-flight entertainment systems. You might have seen, if you entered early here, also a clip from Panasonic Avionics showing what they're being doing with using Qt and the quick user interface technologies. But nowadays, if you go into airplanes and you see an up-to-date and modern in-flight entertainment system, chances are extremely high it's using Qt. It's not only Panasonic, but also other companies. And I think total, I think around 90% of the current market that is currently deploying new in-flight entertainment systems into airplanes, they're all Qt-based. 90% of those are Qt-based. That's a great thing, and it shows how flexible and versatile Qt is as a toolkit. And because the requirements here are also very high, you need to certify a lot of things, so because of certification requirements. In many cases, actually, they need to go and deploy the new software, the Qt-based software, to an old existing in-flight entertainment hardware that's in there. Because exchanging the seats, exchanging the screens is really expensive. So often, they will, the companies will actually go and take our software and bring it to, hardware that's actually, anything between, 0 to 15 years old. And it shows also there that, you can still do this. It shows that we have a framework that's really good and optimized. Okay, so that was some use cases. Let me go over and talk a little bit about the cross-platform functionality that we have with Qt. Qt is inherently cross-platform, and the basis of that is our non-graphical APIs that we have. We have an extensive set of APIs to access all the low-level functionality that you need to do your applications. These are all C++-based APIs, and they're all cross-platform. And it provides pretty much everything that you might need to develop your applications. It starts off with simple things like threading, file I/O, networking, shared memory, inter-process communication. We have, of course, full internationalization and Unicode support, very important these days. Event handling, SIG slots, but also then going into more corner things like Bluetooth, serial port support, NFC, and many other features. All of these are nicely abstracted cross-platform. And if you look at the amount of platforms that we support right now, there's pretty much everything that you currently need, everything that's a slightly, let's say, operating system that's a bit above, the microcontroller level. All the desktop operating systems are supported. Windows Vista and newer will support Windows 10 fully once it's released. We have support for the Windows runtime, which is Windows Store apps. And this is also extremely important now. If you want to go into the Windows Store, this is what you want to use. We have Mac OS 10. We have Linux. We have the mobile operating systems. Actually, if you look at it in reality, we have two more than these ones, but they're small ones. We have Yola and we have Ubuntu. Because they're also now producing phones. We have embedded operating systems with Linux, embedded Linux, QNX, Windows Embedded, VxWorks. So we're really covering pretty much everything that you can think of. And I think, Qt currently is probably the development framework that you can find out there that has the largest coverage of operating systems. We have an extensive set of tooling around it as well. Qt Creator is our IDE, and it's the main entry point that you will probably see when you start using Qt these days. It's a full development environment that supports the whole development life cycle. It's everything that you need. It has a powerful code editor to create your source code, edit it. You have a drag and drop UI designer, both for the old, for Qt widgets and Qt Quick. We'll come to that in a minute. You can directly deploy to your target device, whatever that is, whether that is your desktop that you're developing on, or whether you're cross-compiling, for example, for a mobile device or for an embedded target. And we have, of course, all the on-device debugging and profiling facilities built in. This is a short screenshot. I think we'll see some of that later on during the day. Some more of Qt Creator. This is the code editor, and you can see here some state machine editing, some state machine code. So these are some of the foundations we have, but the heart of Qt is actually really about creating great user experiences. The graphics. This is really where we come from. Where Qt has been, starting off, 20 years ago. How do we create good, new and easy? How do we easily create, good-looking and great user interfaces for your applications? The application logic is clearly extremely important and something we do, but this is really where I think Qt shines. We have a couple of different technologies that can help you there. We have Qt widgets that can help you do the classic desktop look and feel. We have the newer Qt Quick technology, which has been developed over the last 4 or 5 years, which is there to help you really do fluid, touch-based user interfaces. But we can also use that on the desktop nowadays to create more modern-looking desktop applications. What we're also seeing is that 3D becomes more and more important. We always had a good OpenGL integration in Qt, but it has been very much on a lower level. And now we're doing a lot of work to bring that to some sort of higher abstraction levels with also the introduction of Qt Canvas 3D and Qt 3D with Qt 5.5. I'll talk a bit more about that later on. We have a great HTML5 integration with Qt Web Engine and the older Qt WebKit module. And we have real-time multimedia and camera features with Qt Multimedia. These are the graphical foundations that we have, the main building blocks to creating graphical foundations. And of course, there's lots of things around that have helped extend this. And let's go into a Qt widget. This is the classic thing. The basic technology for Qt widgets has been around for 20 years. This is where we started off with. It's a full set of widgets, everything from simple buttons to complex, Unicode-capable text edits, menus, list views, toolbars, and anything you need to create your application. And has a styling abstractions that makes it cross-platform and makes things look native on all the desktop operating systems. So, if you do a classic, desktop operating system application for desktop operating systems, this is one of the technologies you could consider. But for modern applications, where you want to have more animations in there, you want to have maybe a touch-based user interface. Also on the desktop, these are becoming more and more common. If you look at lots of the modern, Windows 8 or now upcoming Windows 10 laptops, they have a touch screen built in. You want to probably make use of that in a good way. So then, Qt Quick is probably the better technology to use, going forward now. It's based around the QML UI description language. This is a language that we have been developing on our own. It's an extension, in a way, technically it's an extension to JavaScript, but it's much, much more. It's a declarative syntax that helps you describe the user interface that you want to create. It contains animations, states, and transitions. And to get really the optimal performance out of the hardware, it's based on top of an OpenGL graph. This is really trying to make use of the graphics hardware at its best. We use similar techniques as 3D games these days are using to create really the best possible, or get as much as possible out of the graphics hardware and offload as much work as possible to the GPU, keep your CPU free for your application. We have things like graphical effects on top of that, so you can have, shader effects, make things look interesting. You can have particle effects on top of that. And the great thing about Qt Quick is that it allows you to tightly cooperate with user interface UX designers. They can directly participate in the development and give you direct feedback and testing of whatever user experience, whatever you're developing. We've seen that in a couple of use cases where we've been working with UX designers, and the more technical ones, they can easily understand QML as a language. There's some similarities to, for example, Flex coming. So if they're coming from the Flash world, they might recognize some things. And they can immediately work there, and they can directly work on the real application and test it on the real target hardware. And that's a huge advantage compared to a traditional development model where they write a specification, the developer translates it, and then at the end you find out that the whole thing didn't match, or it wasn't really the specification wasn't really doable on the target hardware. Instead, they can work with you directly on the real application, and cutting down then a development cycle that takes a couple of weeks to minutes. This is really what helps you get your application out faster, time to market. We have a great OpenGL integration. We've had that for a long time with our Qt OpenGL library. Nowadays it's actually integrated into what we call the Qt GUI library, and it provides you all the required low-level enablers to integrate OpenGL content into your application. We're simplifying dealing with different GL versions, OpenGL versions, everything from OpenGL ES 2.0 and upwards. Actually, desktop GL 1.1 we can still also work with. Have instructions for the GL context, frame buffer objects, and many other things. And one of the big features you also get that you don't really easily get otherwise with OpenGL is that you can do direct 2D drawing on top of OpenGL. This is really important if you, for example, want to draw text, annotations, or a small user interface on top of the OpenGL scene, the 3D scene. This is what you can easily do. Drawing internationalized text on top is not supported by OpenGL directly. You need something to help you do that. We can do that for you. We have two new modules now upcoming in actually Qt 5.5, Qt Canvas 3D, which we released already in the last version as a technology review, but it's not fully supported, which allows you to integrate WebGL into Qt Quick. It's a great new feature that we have, and we have Qt 3D, which is a new 3D engine here, basically. I mean, it allows you, for example, to easily load 3D objects, 3D models, and display them, show them around, move them in 3D space, define your lighting sources and these kind of things. It's very easy and declarative syntax, and it has both C++ and Qt APIs. Qt Web Engine is another big piece of our technology that's really important for us on the UI side. We've started out actually, I think around in 2005, when we did the first integration of what was at that time the WebKit project into Qt, and we called it Qt WebKit. And since then we have continuously developed things in that area. A couple of years ago we had to then make a decision how to move forward, because Google was forking away from the WebKit project with Chromium, with their own things, and we then decided to follow whatever Google is doing there. It's a powerful engine really now to integrate web content into your application. As I said, it's based on Chromium, and it's very easy to use, has a high abstraction level. And also here, we have a cross-platform API, even though it's mainly supported on the desktop and on embedded Linux. We can't support it on mobile operating systems. For that, we have a Qt Web View API. I'll talk about that in my afternoon talk a bit more. But Web Engine has a full integration into the graphics stack, both on the Qt widget side and the Qt Quick C website. There's also an easy way to interface with the native code that you write in Qt and the HTML sites through the Qt web channel, which allows you to expose Qt objects directly to the HTML page. So, fully supported on all desktop platforms for device integration. It's one of the new cornerstones that we really have in Qt. And then the last piece of our UI technology is really multimedia handling. Qt Multimedia supports you with audio, video playback, recording and playback. You can stream videos. You have low latency audio support, and you can easily integrate with certain video effects and other things. Camera support. So everything you need to do in terms of multimedia, you can do using Qt Multimedia. An area where we've also been doing lots of work over the years is connectivity. An application doesn't live isolated by itself. Nowadays, less than ever. An application interacts with the network, with other places, with other applications and devices. And if you hear nowadays a lot about the Internet of Things, and with Qt we really want to make sure that we can support whatever is required there. So already today we have a lot of basic connectivity things in place. We have networking, of course, slow levels, starting from very low level things like sockets, TCP, UDP, but then SSL support, higher level protocols like HTTP, FTP. We have bearer management. You can configure your Wi-Fi through Qt on device creation. Inter-process communications that's on the same machine. You have different processes that need to communicate with each other. Things like serial port and WebSockets. One very low level, WebSockets very much a high level API. Things like NFC tools are things that we have very common. We also, of course, support a lot of the common data protocols, XML, JSON, EBUS, many others. And then finally, now a new feature that we're also bringing out now with the next version of Qt is full support for mapping and routing with the Qt application module. Also, there are more details in the afternoon. The focus area for Qt always has been also that we really are as performant as we can be. As that Qt as a toolkit is very reliable and stable. I've been working with Qt now professionally for 15 years, developing it. And the development team that we have, the core development team, we see a lot of bugs coming in about Qt, lots of bug reports, and sometimes we get the feeling that, oh man, so many things and so many issues that we see. But the reality is actually different. If you count it up against our user base, we currently estimating that we have around 800,000 users worldwide. And Qt is actually a rock solid product. More than 99% of the users that we have, rarely ever find a problem or report a problem or a bug to us. And I've been talking with an engineer who's been working for me, in the past, and now he's working outside and for a company using Qt. And he says, Qt is really rock solid. They never ever encounter problems and bugs. And that's a great compliment to hear. I'm very happy about that. So the core power that we have, really comes from the C++ foundation that we have. We go down as low as possible and as low as we need to get the best possible user experience and the best possible performance out of it. We can do modern user interfaces and without any compromise on the performance. With C++, we also have full control over the code, and we have made mature APIs that proven to work over many years. With the next version that we're bringing out, we're bringing better quality standards now. We've been doing a lot of work over the last half a year, focusing on improving the quality, focusing on the bug reports, focusing on performance, and trying to make that as good as we can for the next release. We've also done a lot of work to improve feature parity between platforms to make the cross-platform compliance really as good as we can, especially in the multimedia area where we had some holes and gaps. So Qt 5.5 is and will be a really good solid foundation for long-lasting software projects. We're also seeing more and more a new scheme of using Qt that appearing over the years. As I said, I mean, most of you are using Qt to create applications on the desktop or mobile operating systems, or to create embedded devices. This is what we have had for quite a few years, and we're seeing a lot of growth in the embedded device space. But the one thing that we're also seeing, which has been appearing over the last couple of years, is that there's a lot of device vendors or application vendors such as Myers and others that are creating more than just individual devices. They're making platforms. Also Ubuntu is one of those. Yola is one of those. And these platforms, they need to run applications. Their own applications or third-party applications development third parties. And for that, they need to create an SDK so that these applications can be developed. And Qt is actually becoming a very interesting choice there because we have most of the building blocks. We're creating an SDK for our application developers, and we can easily also modify and customize that to create custom SDKs for a special use case, for a special device or a special platform. And we're seeing more and more companies coming to us and asking around that. If you have such a need, come and talk to us. We can help you create this kind of SDK around that, and make sure that it's really for your use case, tailored to your use case, and you can basically give it out then to your third-party or second-party developers. Okay, with that, I'd like to then start having a little bit of a look into the future. Where do I see things going now? What are the things we want to do moving forward? And I think if you look at it, one of the clear things that we will be focusing on is the embedded space. This is where we see a lot of our growth coming into the future, where we see a lot of new projects starting up, lots of people saying, we need a solution here. Because more and more of these embedded devices get touch screens. And there are very few solutions actually out there that really allow you to make it very easy to create embedded devices with a good touch-based user interface. Because if you start doing a touch screen on an embedded device, and you want to sell that out to consumers, end users, people do expect a user experience that's comparable with what they get on their mobile phones or on a tablet. It has to be as easy to use. It has to be a touch-based user interface, something that you can really interact with your fingers. And it has to be fluid, 60 frames per second, and all of that. And Qt has the technology to allow that. It's one of the very few solutions that you can get to do that. But in addition, you need more. You need a simple to configure and flexible stack. The operating system has to be in there somehow if you're doing an embedded device. We want to make sure that we continue to focus on that. We have some solutions already there with Qt for device creation, and we want to extend those. More and more of the devices also get connected, and that starts having putting up a completely new set of problems to them. First of all, there's the communication problem, and I talked about that before a little bit. And there's a lot of new protocols coming up for doing machine-to-machine or machine-to-user communication. Lots of common data protocols, and we want to make sure that we implement some of those for you and help you there. That's the other problem, is also discovering other devices that are close to you. What do two different protocols? Is it wireless? Is it the network? Is it Bluetooth? Bluetooth LE? NFC? And there's different ways, and we need to be able to discover these other devices and then interact with them. So we want to make sure that we can help with these kind of things. And then there's a lot of other issues that need tackling, and for some of them nobody really has a very good answer yet. But I mean, data processing, analytics, how do I get my feedback back? How are my users using the device? Security is a huge topic. How do I control the access to the device? How do I make sure that the device is secure, not hackable? How do I do software updates? once it's connected to the network, no software is equivalent. You need to be able, and it's actually a must-have thing, then that you can provide software updates. And they have to happen over the air. Everything else is not maintainable and not sustainable. And you need to be able to control and share the data. So there's lots of problems that need tackling, and we want to be there and we want to do lots of work now over the coming 1 to 2 years to make sure that we can help you in these areas as efficiently as possible. So our first goal, really, that we have now for the future is make device creation faster and easier. You know, creating an embedded device is always a bit more work than just creating an application for desktop or mobile for an existing hardware. Because you need to design the hardware as well. You need to work with, you know, a chipset vendor, you need to get a DSP, and you need to put together a stack, you know, including the operating system. So these are things that you need to do, you know, in addition. But once you have those, and we want to help you, you know, create, you know, for example, the Linux stack that you could use there. And once you have those and you create the applications around it, we want to make sure that this is as easy as the developing for your desktop. This is our goal, and I think we're getting closer and closer to that goal with every release that we're doing. The second large goal for us is to help you keep your devices up to date. As I said, the security and upgradability of embedded devices is key. I believe that in a couple of years from now, and that's not too long in the future, we will not be able to sell any embedded device anymore that is not upgradable over the air. Consumers and customers will start expecting that. So we need to have solutions there to make that safe and reliable. It's also, you know, it's a requirement to be able to make the devices secure. And then we have a third goal, and that goes back to the user interface. As I said earlier, Qt is a fantastic technology, and a lot of the you know, more technical UX designers can already work with it. But you also have the people that create, you know, the graphical assets through, for example, the tools like Photoshop and others. And we want to make sure that we can integrate these kind of things, the workflows that UX designers use, more closely into Qt to make sure that we can get to a state where it's even easier for them to work with our technology and integrate that into the whole, you know, development process and workflow. So we're going to do work in that area as well to make that easier. Okay, then I'll just give you, to sum it all up, I'll give you an overview of the products we have available and talk a little bit about what's coming there. And let's have a look. So we have, you know, actually two main products that, you know, we're developing and that also the two companies sell. We have Qt for application development, which is targeting at desktop and mobile operating systems. If you do an application for desktop or for mobile, this is the package you want to use. It includes the whole set of C++ framework, our Qt user interface, definition language, you know, all of the frameworks that I've been talking about pretty much. Integrated tooling, you know, the Qt Creator IDE, and it's all cross-platform. So this is the one thing, the package that you can use there. And then we have a second package called Qt for device creation, the second product. And that includes the whole application development thing, but it actually has more in it. It contains quite a few reference stacks based on Yocto. So we have, you know, reference stacks for some of the, you know, embedded devices like the Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi 2, you know, IMX6, and many other devices that are ready-made, and you can just take them and start developing with them. We have tooling to customize that stack, to build your own stack. You know, if you go and you have a chipset, you get the base, the board support package there in BSP, and you want to integrate that. So that tooling, you can basically, you know, customize your Linux system on top of that, and then build Qt with it. We have a simulator that simulates your embedded device. We have all the integrated device debugging with it. So these are the two main products that we offer that you can use to develop Qt applications. Another thing I wanted to talk quickly about is licensing. As most of you know, Qt is dual licensed. We have two versions, one open source under LGPL v2.1 and or LGPL version 3. We are slowly moving, and new features that we're developing, we're mainly releasing these days under LGPL version 3, not 2.1. And the reason is that we believe this is the better license for what we want to achieve with dual licensing. As I said, we have that free license and we have a commercial license available to the Qt company. And our goal is to grow our Qt user base and make sure that as many people as possible use Qt and grow the ecosystem. LGPL v3 as a license helps us do that because it enforces an open, if you do embedded devices, it enforces an open system. So if you use the open source version, you're helping us growing the ecosystem because the devices, people can install additional applications on these embedded devices because they're open. If they're closed, you can get a commercial license from the Qt company, and by that help and support the Qt ecosystem because you're paying us to develop future versions of the product. And this is the model that we want to do. Either you help us grow the ecosystem with the open source version, or you help us by paying something, the development costs of the product moving forward. That ensures the future availability of Qt as a product, and really actually in the end secures your investment. Large parts of Qt are developed as an open source project. Meaning we're out there, it's an open project, everybody can contribute their favorite feature to Qt, everybody can participate. But 80% of the development is done by the people working for the Qt company. And we're also the ones selling the commercial product. Schedule-wise, the latest stable releases we have is 5.4.1 and Qt Beta 3.4. 5.4.2 is supposed to be out any time now. And we've released 10 days ago, the Qt 5.5 beta. I'd like to, some of the features that I've been talking about today are, in that beta only. I'd like to encourage every one of you to try it out, download it, test it, and give us all the feedback. The final we expect to have sometime in June. And, then, we'll move forward with our half-yearly release schedule approximately, so we'll have Qt 5.6 sometime in November this year. With that, I'd like to thank you very much for listening. I hope this gave you a good overview of Qt and what we're doing, what we're planning to do. As I said, I'll be talking more about the detail about what's coming with the 5.5 release, what we have put into 5.4, so what has happened over the last year in the afternoon talk. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.